Hello lovely humans, my name is Marvin, and today I'm gonna play and rank every Nintendo game from 1988. But first, history time! Well, Gunpei Yokoi and his crew are still working on the Game Boy over in the corner. How you guys doing, by the way?
I told you to screw off, you weird dogman thing.
Awesome, keep up the great work. But that's not all, folks, cause Nintendo also decided this year to expand from video games and into printed media with magazines. So I'm not talking about Mario being on the cover of fucking crappies now. No, I'm talking about Nintendo Power, a magazine all about their games, with strategies, game reviews, and even previews on upcoming games. Yeah, long before game companies put misleading CC trailers online for gamers to complain about on Twitter, you had to buy a magazine to get a text blurb about Go 13. And you'd be lucky if they included a screenshot. But you might have noticed what's on the cover of the first issue, Super Mario Bros. 2. How convenient! That's one of the 15 games we're playing today. Now let's just hope it doesn't take me an hour and a half to talk about them all. But before we begin, you should know that I actually played most of these games live. Yeah, here on YouTube, I live streamed myself playing most of the games shown in this video. And I say most, because my streams kept having... So, let's start recording and hopefully it doesn't crash. Technical difficulties, and honestly I'm not sure if I want to get back into it or not. But if I ever decide to do that, then be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those, because would you really want to miss out on moments like these? Am I based? So type exclamation I am based if it works. And one more thing, if you guys want more instant updates, game discussions, and dank memes, then be sure to check out my new Discord server, link down below. I promise it's not a cult. And now that all that's out of the way, let's go already! Alright, starting off we have another game by Rare called Anticipation. Though considering the fact that I've never heard this game before this challenge, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to anticipate. Well, to start, I need to select how many players there are, which is 1 because I am by myself, the number of computer players, which I'll max out at 3, the gang's all here, and the skill level, which I guess I'll crank up to very hard because I ain't no pussy, especially playing fucking Pictionary. Yeah, that's basically what this is, a Pictionary board game. To start, everyone is placed on a board with yellow, green, blue, and pink spaces, and the goal is to land on one of these spaces, gets the picture the game is drawing out. Yes, the game does this, you can't draw anything like an actual Pictionary. It's a fucked up giraffe! And if you guess correctly, you'll get a card the color of that space. Then the winner moves their piece, though how it's determined is actually pretty neat. When the game's drawing a picture, a die is counting down in the top right, and as you probably could have guessed, how fast you guess correctly determines how many spaces you move. It's pretty cool because it's kind of a risk and reward system. Maybe you need to get to a specific color 5 spaces away, but then you buzz in with 5 spaces left on the die and you're stuck with whatever the f this is, a balloon animal? Oh yeah, and there's a decent number of drawings the game chooses from, and what color a piece lands on actually determines the theme of the drawing. Yellow are music related, like instruments or 80s music players, definitely Gen Z kids will get far in this one. Pink are vehicles and other modes of transportation, like the Noah's fucking Ark, excuse me? Blue seems to be for household items and facial expressions, but for some reason there's also a vampire and a coffin? Was this a cry for help from Rare? Yeah, some unhinged options thus far, but wait till you see what's in green, cause that color is reserved for, of all things, weapons. As in things you kill people with. I'm talking swords, daggers, scythes, various types of firearms, bullets,
Bombs?
missiles, and even hydrogen
Bombs?
Oh, and when you get a chance to guess, you have to type out the whole answer, and you only have 2 whole chances to type in the right letters. And if you mess those chances up, tough shit. Wait for the others to answer instead. If they get even close. So yeah, just keep playing until you have 1 card of each color, and then you win, right? Nope, there's actually more, cause then your piece and by heavens, I mean another board. Yeah, there's not just 1 board, there's actually 4. And the actual goal is to clear all of them in order, which you do the same way, just collect the 4 colored cards and you'll go up a level. Though each one is slightly different, mainly in their shape. But also level 3 introduces these gray feature spaces that actually allow you to move to whatever space you want, which is pretty cool. And level 4 has gaps in the board that you can fall through, putting you right back on level 3. And trust me, from personal experience, it's pretty brutal. I'm actually having not a bad time with this, although this does feel like a game you'd only pop on every once in a while. Okay. Never mind!
this game.
And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this game, which I know doesn't sound like a whole lot, but so are most board games, honestly. They're meant to be easily replayable time wasters amongst friends and family. And in that sense, yeah, this game is pretty good actually, though it doesn't mean this game is free of problems. Firstly, don't play against very hard computers. They seriously throw no easy punches. If they need a specific colored card, whether it's the one being drawn out or the next possible one, they'll immediately punch in an answer, even when there's only 5 rolls on the die and the drawing looks like this, and they'll get it right, or they'll just type in some garbage just to f with you. Seriously, at the start of the game when I was just learning the rules, there were long stretches of time where I couldn't do anything. They're that ruthless. This didn't last forever as I eventually learned how everything worked, but also because of another problem, the number of drawings in this game. A good way into a game, you'll eventually start getting duplicates, and even though as you climb levels they introduce more new drawings, you're still gonna get frequent duplicates in a single game, meaning you're gonna notice patterns, like the fact that I saw the damn drum like half a dozen times and could eventually identify it from just 3 horizontal lines. Then again, many other board games have limited number of cards, and this game is only like 60 kilobytes, so I won't knock it that much. But I will knock it for how long I spent on just a single match. A single match took me over 2 hours! 2 hours on a Pictionary board game! Like, I know there are longer board games that are aimed at families like Monopoly, but also that game involves its own economy. This game is just dog damn Pictionary! Oh, wait, Google's AI overview is telling me that standard Pictionary games usually last around 90 minutes, so okay, this is definitely within that ballpark, I think. And when has Google's AI overview ever been wrong? But yeah, with everything considered, yeah, this is a pretty fun time, just like any other board game you can think of. But just like any other board game, make sure you play with actual people and be prepared to sit through it for a while, so I think I'm gonna give this game a B rank. Huh, didn't expect to find a good rare game this early on. Guess I didn't need to wait for Donkey Kong after all. Oh no, DK, I'm so sorry, please don't go! I'll get your new game if it makes you feel better! Okay, next up is Athletic World. Except not really, let me explain. So this game was originally published by Bandai, as in the first half of today's Bandai Namco that would go on to create... Wait, what else were they known for? Oh, they went on to create Tamagotchi. Cool. Anyway, alongside this game, they created a new accessory for the Famicom and NES. We North Americans knew it as the Family Fun Fitness. Great name. Or basically, it's a plastic mat that had pressure sensors inside of it, and stepping on these would count as inputs in games like Athletic World. However, Miyamoto saw the and went, Mommy, I want that! So Nintendo acquired the rights to it and renamed it the Power Pad. Automatically a better name. So all unsold mats and copies of Athletic World were recalled, making a complete in-box copy stupidly expensive, and eventually the game was back on the shelves, this time with the Power Pad on the box. So that's the basics on the origins of the Power Pad and this game, so now let me explain why I'm not playing it. Well, it mainly comes down to the Power Pad. I don't have one, and I don't plan on getting one at this moment, cause 1, getting a used one is costly, and I'm not spending over $100 for just a few games, cause yes, Nintendo had more than one game that used this, and 2, I live on the top floor of an apartment building, and I'm not gonna risk me and my roommates getting evicted for the sake of a fucking YouTube video. Dog, I hate this game! In my defense, I don't think they can hear me do that. And I could just play with a controller, but I'd have to remap Power Pad controls to normal buttons, which Retroarch actually allows. And in fact, as you'll see later on, I did manage to get this to work for other Power Pad games, but not for this one. I'd start the game just fine, I can go through the menu, but when I start a minigame, silence. As a kid stands there and stares at me menacingly. So what you're supposed to do with the Power Pad is stand on specific pressure sensors, and that'll start the game. So to replicate this, I'd have to hold 2 specific buttons on the controller, and for some reason, every game has you hold and press different buttons. Why? I don't know, but I literally held every button on the controller and nothing happened here. Well, actually, I did manage to get it to work. Once. And I wasn't even recording it, dog damn! But you know what I had to press? Left and right on the D-pad. If you know anything about D-pads, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And I don't even know how I did in the first place. Like, I've literally tried all of my controllers that could connect to my PC. But guess what? It might not even matter if I could get it to work, because Nintendo might not actually have anything to do with the specific game. Sure, it's on the Wikipedia list of Nintendo products, and the Nintendo Wiki lists as published by them in Europe, That's also all it has to say about this game, but I've checked other sources and they say that only Bandai ever published this game. And Smoochy Bob, which I know I keep bringing him up, I swear this will be the last time maybe, even he doesn't think Nintendo published this game at all. And he's way more thorough on this topic than I am, so there, doesn't count. And even if this was published by Nintendo, and I got to work with the controller or actually use the power pad, this is what will be waiting for me. Yeah, I don't think this is worth the hassle, so I'm gonna do something unique here and give this game the rank of not applicable for games that I currently can't play, if ever. Yeah, sorry for this tangent, let's just move on already. To another visual novel, Famicom Detective Club The Missing Heir, a game people probably only know about because Nintendo decided to randomly remake this game and its sequel on the Switch, and also make a sequel to those remakes with one of the creepiest teaser trailers they've ever made. Jesus, guys. Now I'm wondering if this game will be any similar, so, contact warning before I start, I guess. Skip to the timestamp below. I assume if you're still here, you're cool with dead bodies, so let's jump in. So the game starts with you, the player character, wake up near an infamous clip with everyone's favorite brain trope, amnesia. Amnesia, for when you desperately need a scapegoat for your plot. Now, a man named Amachi finds you and helps you back on your feet, and you decide to go back to the cliff for some reason, where you meet a girl named Ayumi. She tells you that you're a detective, apparently, and you were asked to investigate the mysterious passing of Kiku Ayashiro. She owns some kind of estate in a remote Japanese town, and there are some complications to say the least. Firstly, her brother believes that Kiku didn't just die of old age, and he's the one that commissioned you to solve this mystery. Secondly, the estate is supposed to be passed down to an heir, but said heir is missing. Thirdly, everyone in the village seems to be convinced that the Ayashiro family is cursed or something to rise from the dead, and that gets complicated by, fourthly, the next day, the dead body of an Ayashiro family member shows up on the estate. Yep, if you couldn't guess already, this is a Moida mystery, and you have to solve the mystery of Kiku's death, potentially find the missing heir Yuri, and find out who's committing these Moidas, cause yes, this isn't the last time this happens. Now that's all I'll say about the plot, and I gotta say, this mystery is actually pretty good. It was certainly more compelling than Nintendo's last visual novel, Shin Onigashima, but I guess a Moida mystery is naturally more interesting than a Japanese fairy tale for kids. Not to diss those kinds of stories, but you won't find any 8-bit dead bodies in those! Yeah, for the tech, I guess these would be pretty gruesome. You even find one body hanging from a noose! Nintendo! Family fun for everyone! Now I do want to reiterate that the story of this game is pretty good, because everything around it is a bit of a slog. Yeah, this is another visual novel for the Famicom disk system, so of course it inherits the same problems from those games. A bunch of loading screens, switching disk sides 1,000,009 times, less than obvious means of progressing the plot, picking a clump of pixels that doesn't give any sign anything's there. It's all here, so I won't really be repeating myself here. Though it does have two unique problems of its own. This maze right at the end that's a pain in the ass to navigate, and the meandering text speed. I mean, it's fine when you're reading a line of dialogue for the first time. It's not an alright reading speed, but again, it's fine the first time. This game has the same problem as the other games where you have to choose an option more than once to proceed. And of course, most of the time you'll have no idea what you're supposed to choose, so you have to keep rechecking options you already chose before to make sure you didn't miss anything, but if the option doesn't offer anything new, you have to sit through dialogue you already read. And you can't skip any of it either. And it also doesn't help that some options share dialogue, so what's the point of having them? Though I do have to reiterate again that I do like the mystery of this game, and flaws aside, it's definitely the strongest aspect of this game, so I definitely recommend you give this a try on that alone. Or play the Switch remakes, cause maybe those fix any problems you'll find here, I don't know. But yeah, I'd say this gets a B rank. Part 2 is when the plot really gets going though, so it goes above Part 1. Once again, we're off to the races with Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally, a sequel to Famicom Grand Prix F1 Race. Jeez, they could have come up with short names for these. If you couldn't tell from the title, we're switching racing styles from Formula 1 to rally racing, and we switch perspectives as well, from overhead to Jesus Christ! What the hell is this game trying to do? Give me epilepsy? We got this weird scrolling effect happening off the road, and why is this bomb part constantly flickering? And oh Jesus, now the road's doing it too! Okay, putting that obvious problem aside for a bit, yeah, this is a good old behind the car perspective, and your goal in this game is simple. Drive to the end of a roughly 10-minute long course, dodging cars and other such obstacles along the way. When you start a course, you can see that there's a bunch of alternate routes to take to get to the end, as well as a bunch of checkpoints, and you get to decide which of these checkpoints will house a repair station station, which I'll talk about again in a bit. Then once you start, there's all this stuff at the bottom. If your eyes don't want to gouge themselves out while looking down here, you can see your current time, the time you have to beat by the next checkpoint, your time bank, in case you need a loan on your life expectancy, your gear shifts, going from 1 to hot, scalding hot, the distance to your next checkpoint, your speed, something what's a kilometer, and your damage. But not for your car, it's for your brain. Now for the controls. A and B do the expected thing. Up and down shifts your gears. Start pauses the game and lets you see where you're on the course. Very nice. And select the zone. Jesus, not again! Yeah, this part's gonna need some context. See, back in this game's native land of Weird Central, Nintendo made an accessory called the Famicom 3D system. And long story short, it allowed some Famicom games, and by some I mean 7, to do stereoscopic 3D. Yeah, you thought the Virtual Boy was their earliest attempt at this tech? Nope, they made this thing a whole 8 years earlier. And to show off the tech, they made this game compatible with it. It's also the only game they made with it in mind because the 3D system was a commercial failure. Wow, what a coinkydink. Now, how this 3D thing worked is that there were shutters for each lens that would very quickly alternate, letting only one eye see out of it at a time for 1/60th of a second. And with this 3D mode enabled in the game, and also alternating between 2 images in a 1/60th of a second, it created the illusion of depth. And let me just say, I am glad I didn't grow up during this era of 3D because there's enough flash on screen as it is. Now let's talk more about the gameplay. As you move along, as in many modern rally games, you're going to be slip-sliding around plenty of turns and getting some sick jumps off of hills, which will probably make you fly onto different obstacles and cause you to spin out. It's mainly just other rally cars and things like bushes, but not just any bushes, scary bushes, as well as angry rocks and big-ass poles in the middle of the road. Who put these here? And of course, hitting these will wear down your car, but not to worry, you just need to drive to that repair point you placed down and... Wait, nothing happened. Hey, Marvin here. That is not true. Something does happen. That something being your car is automatically repaired. I just didn't know that because from my point of view, the damage bar was cut off by the overscan of my CRT. I then went off about how I thought you had to go to the repair checkpoint you set, pause the game, and then select repair to do said repair, but that's completely false because like I said before, it's automatic. This option's just here because you can do it at any time in the race. The only difference is that the manual option wastes time while the automatic one is instant. So ignore what I said before, but then again, you should be taking anything I say with a grain of salt anyway. Oh, and speaking of those checkpoints, you gotta get to those quick, because if you don't before you hit the allotted time, the game will then take seconds from your time bank. Oh no, they're taking time from my time retirement fund! And if the time bank reaches 0, Wait, that's it? Okay, this really only happened once, and I was like 2 seconds away from the checkpoint, so maybe it actually gradually slows you down until you stop and then it's game over? I don't know. But if that is the case and you think you're sure of the next checkpoint, there is one more mechanic. Along the way, you'll run into these H balloons, and hitting these will fill up your meter. Once it hits okay, shift up from 4th gear to go into overdrive! Seriously, you speed up by an extra 100 kilometers per hour for a short time. It definitely comes in clutch. Which is a thing in a car. Oh my dog, I seriously don't try and make puns sometimes. But anyway, that's pretty much everything to know about this game. And I mean, aside from the leading cause of epilepsy, the gameplay at least is still fun because you're zooming along, dodging stuff, and the backdrops and colors are very pleasing. It's just too bad there's only 40 minutes of content in this game. Yeah, there's only 3 courses to race through, and since, like I said, each one takes just over 10 minutes to go through, you'll get through all this game has to offer in less than an hour. Though I'm guessing they expect you to keep replaying the courses to find better routes and get better times, but I'm not really interested in doing that. There are also 3 different cars to choose from, and they do play slightly differently. But just choose the red car. Even me, who never played this game before, was able to beat all 3 courses on at least my 2nd attempt because it has good acceleration and durability. I did try the middle car once, but sucked in both of those categories, so I failed with that one and proceeded to never use it again. I also didn't bother with the final car. But I guess that's not really a big deal in the bigger picture. What does matter is that while the gameplay is fun, the flashing imagery and lack of content seriously bog it down, so I'm giving this one the C rank. Hopefully this one will be better on the eyes. It's Famicom Wars, and if the name sounds familiar, it's cause it's the first entry in what we now know as the Advance Wars series, which I'm sure many people know nowadays cause the remakes of the Game Boy Advance games were delayed indefinitely due to unrelated real-world circumstances. Man, if I had a nickel for every time an Advance Wars game released close to a real-world national tragedy, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. But now it's time to get serious, cause we're at war, damn it! But first, better make sure you set up your Spotify playlist. Now you have to choose the island you'll do a battle on, and the first one is called Bean. Well, I gotta pick that one. So each of these maps have a red side and a blue side. Your goal, I assume, is to go to the other side's Empire State Building looking thing and capture it. To start, you have your own main building, as well as a few specialty buildings, and with these you'll be able to create your army. These ones are the most common, and they have the most variety of units. You have the cutest little infantrymen that you can send off to commit war crimes, mechanics with bazookas, various types of tanks, and a supply truck to refill the supplies of other troops. There's also these APC vehicles that the infantrymen can ride around in, and for some reason, whenever they hop in and out of a vehicle, it sounds like they're telling you to shut up after inhaling helium. They do it every time, and it's honestly really cute. And yeah, there's more than one vehicle they can ride. On some of the other maps you can play on, there are two other types of special unit tiles, one of which gives you aircraft and the other boats that you can use to carry land vehicles across water. Now, as for the rest of the gameplay, I haven't really mentioned this yet for some reason, but this is a turn-based strategy game, where you'll spend a turn doing a bunch of things. You can create units, move any units that you already created, the infantrymen can capture buildings that can give you more money each turn, and most units can attack an enemy unit. As you might expect, each unit type has their strengths and weaknesses, like how far they can travel in one turn, how far they can attack from, what types of enemy units they can attack, and when they attack an enemy, this little animation plays out, which also shows that certain units are stronger or weaker against others, so you can either wipe out their health bar in one attack, or do a pitiful amount of damage. And of course, once you do everything you can, you then let the enemy take their turn, where they can do all the same stuff you can, and once they're done, it's your turn again. Rinse and repeat until one of you destroys the other's main building. So as you could probably tell, the foundation of the gameplay is actually pretty good, and there's plenty of charm that comes through the 8-bit animations, but there's just one big problem. I'm too stupid for this. Yeah, this is definitely not a game that's easy to get into, but the main reason I didn't care all too much about this game is because I just don't gravitate towards strategy games. I do like Fire Emblem and Pikmin, so there are a few that I do like, but that's it. You will not see me playing Civilization, that's for sure. It definitely doesn't help that the game regularly expects you to think 20 steps ahead and learn all the different strengths and weaknesses of the units. Like, I'm lucky that I know most of the Pokemon type chart, but even I have to look up type matchups sometimes. How do you expect me to remember which tank is good against this other tank? So yeah, I wasn't doing too good in battle. I eventually got decent enough that I was able to stop the blue team from advancing too far, but then it was pretty much a stalemate basically. And this was after a single match lasted me almost an hour and a half. It would have gone on longer if I hadn't thrown in the towel. Like, I was just bored playing this, compounded by the fact the computer feels like it takes forever to finish a turn. All the while it captures more territory, builds up more units, and proceeds to kick my ass. And it was on the lower difficulty. Like, it's a shame I wasn't having too much fun, because the gameplay is well put together and has personality, but again, my brain is too small for this stuff, so unfortunately, this is getting another C rank from me. And I'm going to proceed to hide inside a real life tank so the Advance Wars fans can't get to me for my opinions. I honestly can't believe it, guys. This is the last of the early Nintendo sports games. Finally, I'm out of this hell. And what a game to end this off on, because you'd think with me being a proud Canadian and all that I know a thing or two about ice hockey. Well, as I mentioned before, no, I don't. I don't even care for a sport normally, and I live in fear every day of the other Canadians finding out. But here's what I do know about the ice hockey video game. It starts with you picking your team, gotta represent my fellow Canadians, as well as the opposing team for the game, the speed of said game, and how long the 3 rounds are, or whatever they're called. Then you get to choose your 4 team members, and you'd think you get to choose from some of the greatest players to ever play the sport, like Tim Horton. Instead you get to choose from any combination of normal guy, fat guy, and skinny white boy. Now personally, I went with 3 different teams in my different playthroughs. The default team, the Too Many Putins team, and all skinny white boys. I'm sure these guys will get the Stanley Cup. Now for the gameplay. Well, it's like pretty much any of these other sports games, just get the thing to the opposing goal, but this time with ice physics. Of course you pass with A and shoot with B, but there is one thing that makes this game stand apart from all the other sports games, that being the different players, because they each have different attributes to help them stand out. The normal guy's the all-arounder, the fat guy's slow but is an absolute tank, you ain't budging him, and he also shoots harder, and the skinny white boy is lightning fast, but he has a weaker shot and he'll get knocked over with just the slightest breeze. You can also control your goalie surprisingly enough, but you move him at the same time you should control one of your other guys, so sometimes he'll be in a different spot than you mean to. And also, his movement is very sensitive, which can be both a blessing when you want to make a split-second catch, and a curse when you overcorrect and let the puck slip in. But oh well, it doesn't matter too much in the end, because good dog, this is surprisingly fun. It's so much faster paced than any of the other sports games, because you'll be sipping around the rink, hitting shots, missing, then the other team gets the puck and sips down to your side, and they pull it all of a sudden your goal. It's seriously exhilarating. Now compare this to, say, soccer. Oh, sorry, I fell asleep just watching this. It's just too bad that, like the other sports games, there's only the one mode to play over and over again. But when that one mode is this fun, I don't think I can rate it super low. If only there was something to tip me over the edge. Oh shit, I forgot! The Zamboni song! Yep, that settles it. This gets a B rank. Easily the best early Nintendo sports game, no question. Next up is the return of an arcade classic, I guess? Mario Brothers. Again! Well, actually, it's Kaettekita Mario Brothers, or Return of Mario Brothers. When did they leave? Well, actually, this is a Famicom disk system port of the original NES version with a few extra goodies, but first, we gotta put in your personal information. Yeah, that's right. I can't put my full name in though, so I'm gonna go by Marvin for this game, and I'm guessing this is because this game also had a contest? Well, yes, as this abomination so gracefully tells us. If we play a specific game mode and reach a certain point threshold, we'll get a code we have to send to Nintendo via postcard. Hitting 100,000 points will give us a chance to win a Super Mario Bros. 3 trading card, and getting over 200,000 points will give us a chance of winning a copy of Super Mario Bros. 3. Obviously, we gotta go for that. I'm hoping they'll be okay if I'm 36 years late. Oh, but if I don't win those, I could at least get a Super Mario Bros. 3 keyring. Cool, thanks. Now go into the vat acid where you belong. Now let's finally get into a game, starting with the classic mode, which actually starts out with a cutscene. Very ambitious of them. Mario and Luigi are chilling out by some rural Japanese architecture, and a big pillar that says Ochazuke Nori? What the hell is that? Rice soup seasoning? The hell does that have to do with Mario? Jesus, what is that? Okay, I think we lost it. Oh, I can teleport! There's nowhere we can run! We're dead! Oh, okay. The game's starting. Thank dog. Apparently that thing's weak to American sewer systems. And yeah, if you couldn't already tell, it's Mario Brothers, a game that's still just okay, though there are a few differences, like some of the graphics have changed. But up until I told you that, you probably didn't even notice anything. And probably the biggest difference of all, there's loading screens before and after a game. Truly, floppy disks for the future. Oh, and you can change your direction mid-air. Wait, you can change your direction mid-air? Finally! The game is playable! But seriously though, just making the controls better definitely makes playing this feel better. But at the end of the day, it's still Mario Brothers, and these were the only real changes they made in this mode. So how about we hop into the Nagatanyan world mode and try to enter that contest? Okay, looks like we have another cutscene, and... what the f? Gomuku fried rice mix? Is this an ad? And now it's telling me Ochazuke Nori comfort food? That's the stuff from the last mode. What the hell is going on? Wait, on the title screen it said Nintendo and Nagatanyan. Who the hell is Nagatanyan?
2 very boring minutes later.
Oh, okay. So looking into them, they're a Japanese food company mainly known for Ochazuke and fried rice mix. Those were the things we saw before. And I'm guessing they teamed up with Nintendo to advertise their products in this re-release? I don't know. I certainly never heard of this crossover, but apparently back in the day, Nintendo was up to do anything. Now, as for this Nagatanyan world mode... it's just more Mario Brothers, dog! The gameplay is literally the same as in the classic mode! And they raised my name! Oh, well, there is one new thing in this game. Good old gambling. Yeah, if you game over, you can play a slot machine for a chance at a few more lives. And I'm guessing if you get a match of any of the brothers, you're good to go. Jesus, Mario, you're celebrating as your ass on fire. Yeah, anyway, you play the slots, and your reward is you get to continue playing Mario Brothers. Gee, thanks. And yeah, I did manage to get 100,000 points, and I got the code for it too. Mario 3 trading card, here I come. Though unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the other code since I game over before I could get 200,000, and you only get a slot machine once per game.
Damn.
Well, that's Return of Mario Brothers, and yep, they sure did. I mean, the better controls do certainly make this a better game than the original, and the fact that there are ads in a Nintendo game this early on is pretty funny, but it's still Mario Brothers, and I know you're probably yelling at me to talk about it, so yes, the Super Mario Advance games have a full-on remake of Mario Brothers with the better controls, and it's 4-player, and it's just a bonus on a much better platformer. So yeah, you don't need to seek this out, but it's still fine, so it's getting the C rank. Obviously, it goes above the original for obvious reasons, obviously. Rare's back, and this time they're behind the very tiny wheel in RC Pro-Am. Now, as the title would suggest, wait, we're just hopping into it? Wait, hold on, I'm not ready. Whoa, what's going on? Mom, help! Okay, let's slow things down a bit, cause as you just saw, as soon as you hit start, the game throws some shit at you and then makes you go right into a race. Now as the title would suggest, this is an RC racing game, with a whole 32 tracks to go down. That's a lot of RCing. This screen has the current track you're on, the number of laps it has, the track conditions, which are sometimes very wet, ew, and your stats. And now it's on to the gameplay. This is an isometric racer, and the controls are a little weird. A doesn't accelerate, B does. Okay, and no matter which way you're facing, left still turns you left, and right still makes you turn right. Think of it like tank controls in an old school 3D game. You know, the dark gauges. Now it's not like you just race around in a circle. You do that and pick stuff up off the road. There's engines to increase your top speed, tires to increase your traction, and tire rims to increase your acceleration? Well, no wonder my car takes so long to get to 60. I need to replace my rims. Much better. And there's also some other things you can pick up, those being weapons. Missiles to shoot whoever's in front of you, and bombs for anyone behind you. You use these by hitting the A button, though you can only carry one of each at a time. And you better use them wisely, cause you gotta win. RC racing is serious business. Oh, and there's also these stars that give you your ammo, and letters that spell out Nintendo, or at least I assume that's what it spells because I never got them all. Also, this game is also on the Genesis. What does it spell there? Now, in order to win, or in this case qualify, you have to be in the top 3 of 4 in a race, which just ends whenever anyone crosses the finish line first, which is very off-putting. If you don't qualify, you have to use a continue, which you only have 2 of. And if you use all of them, start over from the beginning, bitch! And you'll probably have to do this pretty quickly, cause good dog does this get hard quick. Now, okay, the game is fun, just zipping around the course and blowing other cars up, especially when you hit a speed pad and go zoom! But then there's the other obstacles on the road, mainly puddles of water and oil and crazy barricades, what? But then there's the biggest obstacle, yourself. Well, mainly it's the handling of your car. Now, I know you're a dinky little car, so you're pretty light, but it doesn't help me drive around corners, now does it? Oh, and then there's the second biggest obstacle, the other cars. They're pretty fast, and they have better racing lines than you, so there's a good chance that if you don't pick up grenades or use your weapons, you'll be left in the dust. Well, joke's on them, it means I can add to my dust collection. And what's worse than that is that the first place car ends up getting so fast that they end up lapping everyone. Look at this shit! How am I supposed to beat that? And finally, there's the structure of it all. Because it's so arcadey, I doubt you'll be able to see all 32 tracks unless you're a dog level capital G Gambus. Like, some options in the tracks we could choose, or maybe being able to choose from different cars, would be nice. But at the very least, the chaotic nature of this game can lead to some quick fun as you zoom around the courses and blow cars up, so I think this is getting a B rank. Dog, a lot of B's today. Do I have a beehive around here somewhere? Oh dog, I wasn't serious! Ah! Something Doki Doki Panic. We all know this, and thankfully after this video, I hopefully never have to speak about this fun fact again. But speaking of that game, yeah, this is basically the exact same game. Same structure, level design, enemies, game mechanics, and physics, all of that is the same, but there are a bunch of changes made as well, and not just graphically. I won't go over any minute changes because there's other videos on that already, but I'll go over the major ones. Obviously, one of the biggest changes is that our previous protagonists have been completely replaced. In the place of Imogene, we have Mario, Lena, Princess Peach, or Princess Toadstool as she was known back then Mama is replaced by Luigi and Papa Toad. And all these guys inherit the same traits as their forebearers, meaning Mario's once again the all-rounder, Luigi's got hops with the added benefit of a lighter fall and animation that makes him look like he's out of a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Princess Toadstool's got no lines but compensates by defying all known laws of aviation like she's a bee or something, and Toad can barely jump with his stubby little legs, but he's also buff as shit. Don't worry about your legs though, little guy. I hear you take up dancing in the future. Another change with these guys is that when they fall to 1 hit point, they turn into little babies. Aw, so cute. Do you want uppies? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The babies are transphobic. Speaking of the enemies, basically none of them are changed really, except for being given English names, and there's kind of a funny mistake in the original manual for this game. So, Birdo. We all know Birdo, but according to some sort of error, her name is Ostro, and the name of Birdo was given to the ostrich enemy, which fits much better, honestly. Oh, and the manual also basically lists the actual Birdo as being born a boy and appearing as a girl, meaning Nintendo accidentally created a trans icon. And speaking of enemies, again, there is one new boss added that wasn't in Doki Doki Panic. Claw Grip. He throws rocks. throw them back. And the last enemy change is with the masks that attack you. They just look slightly different, and that's a segue into all the other graphical changes they made. They removed a bunch of the mask imagery, like the mask blocks are now mushrooms, and the giant masks you get bored by at the end of levels are replaced by boing faces! Also, the magic lamps are now potions, the hearts that give you more health are now mushrooms, the 1-ups that were just your character's severed head are now 1-up mushrooms, and there's some menu changes as well, like the casino at the end of levels got a glamorous makeover to make it feel more like a casino, making the original, which was just a roulette wheel in the void, look bland by comparison. This new one is perfect for satiating the princess's gambling addiction. And there's a new character select screen, which you see a lot more, but I'll get to that in a bit. And there's a new title screen, which also details the new story of this game. Yeah, it took me this long to finally get to the new story, huh? Well, basically, Mario has a dream where he finds a door at the top of a long-ass staircase, and on the other side of the door is the Land of Dreams subcon. He then hears a voice say to defeat Ward before he wakes up from his dream. The next day, Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, and Toad are off on a picnic near a mountain, as you do, and they happen upon a cave with a long-ass staircase inside and a door up top of it, and I think you know how the rest goes, as well as this whole game ends. But in case you don't, spoilers for a 37-year-old game, all of it was a dream. It's the usual cop-out ending, I know, but what I'm thinking about is the fact that we're never told he fell back asleep in between his two dreams. So does that mean he had this dream inside the first dream? Oh my god! But looping back around to the ending, let's talk about actual gameplay changes. For one, to get the best ending, you just get to the end. Yeah, that's it. Doki Doki Panic had you beat the game with each of the 4 characters to get the true ending, but that's not required here, and that leads to the second big change. Since you no longer need to do that, you're actually able to swap characters in the middle of a run, specifically in between levels or when you use a continue. In fact, at the end of the game, it tallies up how many levels you beat with each character, which I chose to beat the whole thing with Toadstool for a float. Come on, boys, put in the effort. And finally, probably one of my least favorite changes, the continues, or rather, how many you have. Only 3 as opposed to unlimited in DDP. They work the same as in that game, where using 1-up sends you to the beginning of a world, but once you run out of them, back to the beginning of the game you go. I'm not exactly too happy with this change, because it's not like this game is a walk in the park, but I guess they need to get your playtime out of this game somehow. And that's all the major changes made to this game. Surprisingly enough, Nintendo would translate this version back to Japanese as Super Mario Bros. USA, and they'd re-release this in the future instead of Doki Doki Panic, which I kinda get cause DDP was originally made to promote a one-time event that happened almost 40 years ago, but I would have hated to have been a Japanese kid back in the day that owned DDP and beat it, then found out there's a new Mario game on the shelves, so they begged their parents to get it for them. They do, then they rush home and turn on their Famicom, just to find out they got the same game twice. But yeah, it is just DDP, and I like DDP, but I also like the unlimited continues of DDP, so I'd rather just play DDP, even if there's the occasional loading screen, so Soup 2 is also gonna get an A rank, but just one step below DDP for now. We're not done with the brothers yet, cause now there's 3 of them! What, have you not heard of the third Mario brother, Antonio? Of course not. They don't talk about him anymore. Now, I know you know how much of a big deal this game was and kinda still is, but I feel like I'm gonna be saying that a lot with future mainline Mario games, so I went and made myself a pre-recorded message and an AI that will replace words in said pre-recorded message when necessary. Here, I'll play it for you right now. The game Super Mario
Bros. 3
is widely considered to be the best game on the
Nintendo Entertainment System,
if not one of the greatest games of all time. I mean, it's the
3rd
best-selling game on the
Nintendo Entertainment System,
with a whopping
17
million copies sold. That's roughly
27.459214999%
of all
Nintendo Entertainment System
owners. Pretty neat, huh? Now let's quickly run through what makes this game amazing, shall we? In fact, let's see just how quickly I can ramble about this game. The first big new addition is thrown at you right at the start of the game. A whole new world map. And it's not just for aesthetics, though it does show out the themes for each of the 8 worlds, all of which are unique. Some we've seen before, like grass, dirt, ice, and sky, but some new ones for the time, like water, big, where everything's big, pipe, with a lot of pipes, and hell, both figuratively and possibly literally. But these world maps also have secrets for you to find. Gambling for extra lives, because who doesn't love a good gambling, card matching for bonuses, enemies you can fight for power-ups or useful items, and of course the levels themselves, of which there's at least 90 of them. And a good number of them are optional. There's plenty of split paths that take you to 2 different levels, and you can choose which one to beat while completely ignoring the other, perfect for when one of them is too hard for you. But getting into the levels, oh boy! Compared to the last Mario game that was an actual Mario game and not some other game reskinned to be a Mario game, the level designs are more complex and fulfilling, with plenty of space both horizontally and vertically, and with smooth vertical scrolling at that. And they're filled with a wide variety of enemies that became mainstays right afterwards. Boos, chain chomps, dry bones that people want to smash for some reason, fire snakes, nipper plants, parabeels, paragoombas, including a variant that throws its children at you, patooies, rocky wrenches, spike, not fishy bookins, shut up, thwumps, the literal sun, boom boom. And even back then he sucked. And the Koopalings, Bowser's 7 adopted children. And I gotta say, who proved him to be a father? And complementing all of this are the controls, which are much better than they were just 3 years ago, feeling more like the modern titles than ever before. For the most part, they're a little light feeling, but you get used to them. And complementing those are some new power-ups, like the Tanuki Leaf, which gives him the power of slow falling and flight with a running start. It also makes him well, and there's also the frog suit, which, okay, sucks and makes you hop like a frog on land, which is really slow, but makes swimming easier in the water. The hammer suit, the rare suit in the game, which gives you the power of the Hammer Brothers. And the P-Wing, which turns you into Tanuki Mario, but for one level, basically gives you infinite flight, allowing you to skip over many levels. Oh, and there's also items you can use on the world map, like hammers to break rocks, access secrets, open shortcuts, music boxes to let you skip enemies, or clouds to let you skip a level. So if you couldn't tell, Nintendo really upped the ante in this one, not only compared to Super Mario Bros. 2 with 20 decently lengthy levels, not only compared to Soup 1 with 32 levels that honestly reused a lot of assets, but also the fucking Donkey Kong, a game of only 3 levels that consist of 1 screen each. And what's crazy is that the Famicom, and by extension the NES, was made to port arcade games like Donkey Kong to a home console. And they couldn't even port the whole game. These two games are a whopping 5 years apart on the same hardware. To be fair, Soup 3 is using 13 times the storage of Donkey Kong, but still, that's a huge technological leap on the same system. And it helps that the game is great on its own to boot. Though it's not perfect, there's definitely some nits I can pick here. Many of the small issues mainly come down to hindsight, as this game doesn't have the quality of life improvements of future titles. Like, why can't I replay levels I already beat? In fact, why can't I go back to worlds I already beat in the first place? Why don't these levels have checkpoints? They're pretty short most of the time, but they would have helped during the more annoying ones. Why is there no save feature? Not even a password system. Then again, this is only a problem on original hardware, back when you had to keep your system on overnight and hope your mom doesn't turn it off or something. Nowadays, on other systems like the Switch through NSO, I mean, save states are right there, and you might need them for more than that, cause some of these levels are a pain in the ass. Either they're kinda cryptic on what you have to do to beat it, or they're just hard in general, especially in the last 2 worlds, and especially in World 8, and especially this level. I seriously died so many times on this one. Oh, and this game introduced one of many's least favorite level types, the auto-scroller, and worlds 1 through 7 all end with one of these. If you just so happen to die at the end of one of these, you gotta slowly walk through it all over again, or fly over it if you have a P-Wing. I honestly just saved them for these. But then my final nitpick is what happens when you game over. You're just flung all the way back to the start of the world and have to replay a bunch of levels all over again, especially knowing if certain levels give you a bad time. But thankfully, there are shortcuts you can take to skip levels which open up after being a tower, and all the rocks you smash and enemies you defeat on the world map don't respawn, neither do the towers or tanks you beat. I forgot to mention there's tanks. All the other things respawn though, including the gambling spots, baby! But honestly, any criticism doesn't really take away from how great this game is. It shows just how far the NES has gone since its inception, it introduced so much to the Mario series, it controls really well, and it's just all around fun. Is it the best game ever made? No, of course not, but it's certainly up there, and I can see why it's one of many people's favorites. So I think I feel confident in giving Super Mario Bros. 3 the very first S rank of this series. What do you have to say after achieving this highest honor? Oh wait, you're an inanimate object, I forgot. Oh well, I'm sure it'll sit high on that throne, but how long will we have to wait until another game sits alongside it, or even surpasses it? Well, it certainly ain't gonna be Super Team Games, that's for sure. As the title screen suggests, this is another Power Pad game, and I still don't have one, so time to cheat. Starting off, gotta select one player, put in my name, and select from one of 4 races, jeez. Don't take that audio of content. And for some reason, the super obstacle course is the first selection, not obstacle course A or B. I'm guessing the game wants us to just skip the foreplay, so okay, let's go for it. And finally, our opponent. And I later learned that these are the different difficulties, and I'd say they fit. Ollie certainly sounds like a puppy, so let's go with him to start. Now we're at the starting line, and we gotta get into position to start, which for me involves holding the shoulder buttons. And we're off! Get mashing! Yeah, I'm assuming that to control this game, you're supposed to run in place on 2 buttons and jump to jump, aka just don't stay on the buttons. For me though, it involves alternatively mashing the shoulder buttons and letting go of both to jump, but the way I was doing it I think was causing my kid to freak out. So we got several sections to get through, the first being the log jump, just hop over the logs as necessary, and then we have belly bump ball, just keep mashing as you push a ball down the track with your stomach. When's this one coming to the Olympics? Then it's the water cross, where we gotta swim through some puddles by doing the same thing we were already doing. Or you can jump over the puddles. Damn, this kid's the next LeBron James. And then there's the crab walk? Where you put on a crab costume and sidewalk across the track? Screw belly bump ball, I want this in the next Olympics. Oh, but with this one, you mash the face buttons instead. But then you switch back to the shoulder buttons for the wall jump. What do you do for this one? Then it's the bubble run, where you mash the face buttons again to blow a big bubble, climb inside, and mash the shoulder buttons to run normally. The fuck's the point of the bubble? And we end things off with the log run, not log hop, because there's only 2 logs, and then you just run to the end. And geez, 3.5 minutes of button mashing, or with the legitimate way, 3.5 minutes of running in place. But you do get a nice break, at least if you chose Ollie as your opponent, because he's only at the halfway point and you gotta wait for him to finish before you can continue. And for what? The game to tell me I won? I already know that. Replay? No thanks. But there's still more to play, so let's hop back in. Gotta put in my name again, which I misspelled and decided to run with it. I'm a Mario now, wahoo. And let's go with Obstacle Course A now, which is the same thing as a Super Obstacle Course, but with less sections. Log hop, water cross, wall jump, run, just run before the demons get you. And this time I lost to Jimmy since I chose him. Fucking Jimmy. I should do something about him before he grows up and becomes a talk show host. Alright, the same old rigmarole. Enter my name, except this time I accidentally skipped it. Select Obstacle Course B, make Ollie go up against nothing, and take a wild guess what sections are in this one. That's right, belly bump ball, crab walk, and bubble run. All the leftovers that weren't in Obstacle Course A. And good job, Ollie, you lost to nothing. Now there's just one more course in one player, and this time I wanted to call myself Malignant, because at this point that's how I felt. But I'm one letter off, so I guess I'll be a Malignant. And I'll face Ollie again, which is a fitting name, because now we're going skateboarding. Finally, something new. Let's go. I can't move. I can't move! I'm matching all the buttons on my controller, I'm not moving! Doc damn it, the one mode with unique content, I can't even play it! But considering how Ollie's doing, I don't think I'm missing out on much. But I'm still not done yet, cause there's also a tournament mode. Let me guess, we're just gonna do the same stuff in a tournament bracket? Gotta register a team name, so I'm the leader of the Bile team, and six-legged race? Tug of war? Relay race? These are unique events! Thank dogs, something different! And I can't even play them! Again, pressing every button on the controller and nothing happens in any of them. And that's because they require 3 players. And I only know this because I looked at the manual. I know that there's 3 rows of numbers on the power pad, but there's no indication in the game that you need 3 players for this. I don't have a power pad nor 2 other people to play this with. And look at how small this thing is. There's barely any room for 3 people. And I assume it's all the same problems with the 2-player modes, but I didn't bother to check because f*** this game, it's not very good. Aside from lack of substantial content in this one, all you're really doing is running in place, and you don't need a power pad for that. Just do it on your own while doing something else. So I'm not even gonna bother giving this game a bronze medal. Instead, it's getting the D rank. Okay, so a bit of a history lesson here. Remember before NES games were added to Nintendo Switch Online, and the only way to play Super Mario Bros. On Switch 1 was through Arcade Archives versus Super Mario Bros., and it was kind of different to the actual Super Mario Bros. Also, this game was under the Arcade Archives series. Well, that was an arcade game. See, back in the day, Nintendo made a series of arcade cabinets called the Versus Systems, and they were basically Famicoms turned into arcade cabinets. A lot of Famicom and NES games were ported to the Versus System because they were literally the same hardware, and fun fact, a puggy factoid even, the Versus System was the first time many Americans were first introduced to NES games. See, back in 1984, the year, not the book, even though the home console industry in North America had tripped and fell into a landfill, arcades were still doing pretty well for themselves. In fact, when Nintendo brought the Versus System to North America, it did better there than in Japan, which helped push them to do the test launch of the NES the following year. So yeah, even though most people only vaguely know the series from a couple of Switch eShop releases, I consider it to be a core part of Nintendo's early gaming history. Now, where's the Excitebike fan to all this? Well, long story short, after the game released on the Famicom in November of 1984, a Versus System version was made roughly a month later with some changes to make it more arcade focused, and then 4 years later, that version was ported to the Famicom Disk System with some additions, one of which is in the title, Multiplayer! In a racing game! Finally! But first, let's get into the original Excite mode, though it's not exactly what you think. It's not the original, as in the NES/Famicom version, it's the arcade version, which functioned differently. To start, you only have 3 tracks to select at the start as opposed to 5 in the original, but this one's up the original by having 7 tracks. Yes, that's a big deal. And how you progress through the tracks is also slightly different. Before racing on each track, you need to do a qualifier on each one, which is just doing a single lap on your own within a time limit. Once you beat that, then you do the normal race. And this happens for each track, which is kind of weird, but whatever. And other than that, it's the same old Excitebike gameplay, same controls and everything. Meaning if you're not good at Excitebike, you're not gonna get very far. Like me. Yeah, it's another skill issue. I only made it as far as track 5, though before that, there is one more new addition in the form of bonus games, which have you doing the only other cool thing you could do on a dirt bike, jumping over trucks for points. Cause yeah, there's a big emphasis on points here, being an arcade game and all. You're not really meant to beat it, just get a high score. Not that I've missed out on much though. In my research, it seems that track 7 just loops until you fail. But enough of playing with myself. Should have phrased that better. Let's get on with the multiplayer. In a racing game. In this mode, you can select from a battle or free mode, the only difference being you hand off who chooses the next track, so why bother. Choose how many rounds, choose from 3 tracks even though there's 7 flags, where do we get the other 4, choose the number of laps, and go! Yeah, it's split screen and Excitebike. You can only do 1v1s, but it's still pretty neat. It's just too bad I still don't have people to play this with. And that's not the only improvement. There's also all the changes to the design mode. Mainly that it's much more user-friendly, as you can actually see what parts you're placing down. Since the game's off floppy disk, you can properly save your creations, and you could save up to 4 tracks. In fact, remember the 4 blank flags in the versus mode? That's what this is for. You create tracks for yourself and your friends to race on, and I think it's the perfect opportunity to introduce you guys to my latest creations. Everyone, meet Hilly McHill Hills Jr. and their siblings, Straighty McStraight, Nippy McRamp, and Dirty McDirt. The fact that I can race against other people on my stupid creations online since Nintendo put this game on NSO is so sick. And I think my praises for this game make it pretty clear this is a vast improvement over the original. I mean, adding multiplayer and being able to play multiplayer on a countless number of user-created tracks is awesome. But this isn't Game of the Year or anything like that. Single player is pretty hard. You have to go through the effort of making all those countless tracks yourself. And as far as racing games go, it is pretty simplistic. But this is still simple fun, so it's getting the B rank. Oh, Doc, not again. Yes, we're not done with the Versus series just yet, cause Nintendo also ported Ice Climber to the arcades and ported that to the disc system. Though I'm gonna be playing the arcade version, cause I can't find any evidence of that disc system release other than Wikipedia saying it was a thing and also a Launchbox database entry. Fun fact, this is where I get the box art for games. And besides, there's barely any differences between these 2 releases, so it should be fine. Actually, I eventually managed to find the disc system version of Ice Climber and get running by Heir. All the footage of the arcade version. I didn't want to replay the game, so shh. And yeah, it's just Ice Climber again. Same old gameplay, same old bullshit. You would think that this fits better in an arcade since the difficulty is perfect for being a quarter muncher, but just because the stick is a perfect fit for your ass doesn't mean you should shove it in there. But it isn't just the exact same thing as the NES version. There are a few differences, like some new levels, 16 brand new ones, aka 16 brand new torture methods. You'd think that means that on top of the 32 original levels, there'd be a whopping 40 in this one. That's a lot of stuff for an arcade game. And you'd be right on that last part, because this version only has 24 levels. And Marvin again, I really should have done more research on this game beforehand, because the game actually does have 48 levels, but the way you unlock the other 24 is so fucking stupid, only an arcade game could pull it off. You have to beat 8 levels in a row without a game over to play the other levels, but only 8 of those at a time before you're thrown back to the other 24. And you have to do the same thing all over again just to play some more. I'm pretty sure the best I could do was 4 or 5 in a row, and I really didn't want to get good at fucking Ice Climber just to play more of it. I gloated about how I managed to beat all 24 main levels, but if I knew that was only half the story, I probably wouldn't have bothered. Past me is gonna keep yapping though, cause there are some other additions made to this version, so I'll let him do that now. It could be because I've gotten used to the terrible controls, but I think it's also because some of these levels were piss easy, and as you know, piss is pretty easy. Unless you have a kidney stone. No, seriously, it does ramp up in difficulty decently quickly for the first few levels, but then around level 14, I was able to beat a few levels in a row no problem. Then level 17 came around and shoved that pre-mentioned stick on my pre-mentioned ass, and the difficulty just keeps bobbing up and down all around like this is supposed to be a difficulty curve, not the stock market. But I guess it's fine, because you can actually play the levels in whatever order you want. After you beat one, it kicks you back to the level select, and even marks the levels you beat. And depending on whether or not you also beat the bonus minigame, you'll either get Popo standing there like he just used the potty all by himself, or a Yeti if you fucked it up. But other than the controls, there's 2 other major additions to this one. The first being a new enemy type, one that's based on something found all throughout the Himalayan mountains. Bees. And and all they do is dart from one side of the screen to the other. Very threatening. But actually, these were reskinned into boys in the disc system version, so forget I said anything. And the last major change is that sometimes it be fucking windy. I think what happens is that after you beat a level, there's a chance the next one will have wind in it, and all it does is push you ever so slightly to the left or right, which is just enough to mess up your jumps as if that wasn't already bad enough. And that's all she wrote. It's still just Ice Climber at the end of the day, except now you could easily compete with others to get a high score. The best I got was number 9 as Deke. Now, don't get me wrong, the game is still bad, it's still Ice Climber after all, but I do hate this version less than the original. Sure, it technically has less content, but that's actually why I think it's better. And there's also the fact that a decent amount of levels aren't too hard, and I was able to get somewhat of a grasp on the controls. Is this what Stockholm Syndrome feels like? Nah, this is still getting a D rank. Oh, actually, it's also going lower in D rank than I initially put it, because I now know that there's actually more levels than the original, and you need to suffer / spend your life savings in quarters just to play half of them. Damn, 2 bad games already. Can we get one more to round it out? Aw, hell yeah! Yes, the last game we're looking at is yet another Power Pack game. This one being World Class Track Meet. Probably the most well-known one since it was a pack-in for certain NES console bundles, including a 3-way combo cartridge alongside Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. Ah yes, 2 of the most popular NES games of all time. And Super Mario Brothers. So we have a few different options on the title screen, but let's just hop into it with a tournament. In this one, you'll compete against a string of computers that each get progressively harder. You'll compete in the 100-meter dash and 110-meter hurdles, which the liars are a weirdly specific number, and you'll get a medal after you beat each opponent, starting from bronze, then silver, then gold, and I don't know what's after that because I lost my 4th opponent in the hurdles, and honestly I don't care enough to try again. I am really fast. Well, I sure hope so. You are a horse. Now let's get into the events you play, because they're all right there on the main menu. Of course, you can probably guess what you have to do in these. Run and place a whole bunch. Make sure you put some force into it. Really let your neighbors know. Especially the 100-meter dash, where that's all you're doing. But in the 110-meter hurdles, you have to jump in real life to jump over said hurdles. Then there's the other 2 events, the long jump and triple jump, where you run and jump out the line to try and get as far as you can across the concrete. But also, in the triple jump, you gotta land twice before you reach that concrete, and you gotta land on the power pad before you land in game. Otherwise, you'll probably scrape your face off. And after the event, it'll score you out of 100, meaning you're supposed to try and get a high score, obviously. And after the first event, I started naming myself after diseases and illnesses that start with the letter M. So we have me on the 100-meter dash, my asthma on the long jump, measles on the hurdles, and mumps on the triple jump. Go ahead and try to beat my asthma. You can't. And finally, we have the Olympics, which just makes you play the same 4 events in a row for a combined high score, and where malaria absolutely killed it. And that's World Class Track Meet. This took me 15 minutes to do everything. D rank. And finally, that's every Nintendo game from 1988, with an average score of 2.57, not including Athletic World, of course. And yeah, this was a pretty good lineup. Of course, Soup 2 and 3 raised this year higher than it would otherwise, but there's also some neat stuff here. Anticipation and Famicom Detective Club were nice surprises, Ice Hockey is good simple fun, and versus Excitebike is the first good Excitebike game. Even the okay or bad games were at least interesting. Nintendo's first attempt at stereoscopic 3D gaming, the first Famicom Wars, a Mario Bros. Port that had food advertisements, and the first few Power Pack games. So overall, pretty decent. But I'm looking forward to the next entry in this series because we get to start talking about the Game Boy. And I sure hope you are too. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, then be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought down in the comments, and join my new Discord server for updates, discussions, and dank memes. Be civil in there though. And with that out of the way, I've been Marvin, and I need to go rest my fingers because playing those Power Pack games were really hard on them. Peace!